I need protection, man.
Preparing for a bumpy ride, much like the global tourist industry. But these holidaymakers are bucking the trend. Visitor numbers in the Middle East are rising, and that's in stark contrast to the downturn in Europe and the US, where the economic slowdown is starting to take its toll.
The downturn started in the United States. It may affect some Asian countries, but it will affect the mature part of the world mainly. 2009 probably to be the most affected year, but don't expect a vigorous recovery shortly thereafter. It is something that will burden the world economy, and some issues like high energy prices may be around and high food prices may be around for decades.
And that combination of factors has forced the World Travel and Tourism Council to cut its growth forecast for the year from 3.9% last year to just 3% this year. But it says developing markets like the Middle East could help offset losses elsewhere. So hotels, airlines and travel firms are looking to cash in on that. They're growing less reliant on tourists from the US and Europe and instead expanding into new emerging markets across the Middle East and Asia.
We have to go where the growth is. So we're investing very aggressively in those markets. 2 years ago, the international markets were less than 20% of our revenue. Now they're over 30% of our revenue. And hopefully in 5 years, they'll be more than 50% of the revenue. So we do have to diversify, and we have to go where the dollars are, or the euros are, or the yen are. And that's a big, big initiative for us as a company.
And those dollars, euros and yen are being spent in places like this. It's one of 5 new mega malls planned for Dubai by the developer Nakheel. But in a city that's not exactly short of somewhere to shop, it shrugged off concerns that a slowdown in the world economy could leave the new developments lying empty.
No doubt there are some concerns in some of the major Western economies, but I have to say certainly in the Middle East we're not feeling that at the moment. And also from a retail perspective, a lot of our potential customers are coming from within the region. And of course the region is showing some tremendous growth at the moment.
And that growth means new destinations are emerging right across the Middle East, like here in Al Aqsa, just outside Fujairah. It's a good 2-hour drive from Dubai, but it's growing in popularity, and the threat of a slowdown hasn't stopped them building.
5 years ago, when we opened this hotel, we were the only ones here, and people thought we were absolutely crazy to open such a huge hotel so far away from everywhere, not realizing that there was a huge master plan in the back scenes. I think people should continue building, should continue developing. The recession comes and goes. It has its job to do, and it does it, and then we move on.
This stretch of coastline may look relatively underdeveloped, but within the next few years, there are plans to open 6 more hotels in this area alone. And that's a symptom of the soaring demand for hotel accommodation here in a region that's yet to see any slowdown in visitor numbers. In fact, whilst those numbers fall elsewhere in the world, demand in the Middle East is rising quickly. And the creation of new resorts like this one is going some way to addressing that demand. And the airlines and travel firms will be keeping an eye on that demand. For them, the growth of emerging economies could keep them out of danger for now. Whether it's enough to save them entirely is another question.